Looks legit to me. I say we go, go, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cord Killers. Our job is not to tell you what to do. It's not to say you got to do this or you got to do that. It's to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution, to give you the info you need to know to decide how you're going to be able to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on any damn device you please. Hi, I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and if I'm not mistaken, that was exclusive footage from the upcoming Godzilla movie. Is that correct?
That was the trailer that everybody's been talking about today, right?
the one where he does. My favorite is when he does like the wrestling moves, where he's just like he slaps his fists together like, "Come on!" and then runs
the
over
visual
double
effects
drop
are amazing.
kicks.
We should bring in our guest Jeff Kanata, joining us today on Cord Killers from DLC and Newest Latest Best. Jeff, what did you think of this new Godzilla trailer we were just looking at?
You know what? I'm so sick of all the CG. It's just, it's ruining all the modern movies, don't you think? Those guys were so obviously computer generated.
Obvious. Well, okay. You could see a little pixelation, I guess.
Fake.
Imagination.
Man, I don't know about you. I say I'm too excited. I say we jump straight in with our primary targets.
Roku CEO Anthony Wood was at Recode's festival. It was a festival. It was a panel event, conference. Code Media was the name of the event. It was put on by the site Recode. Peter Kafka was talking to him in Santa Monica last Thursday. He said a lot of things about Apple TV. He said Apple TV is essentially an accessory for the iPad, and they lose money. And why do they do that? And every year a new version of the Apple TV comes out, and every year Roku sales grow. He noted that the day the Apple dropped its price from $249 to $99, they doubled their Roku sales. So maybe they were pestering him about Apple, but he seemed to have a lot to say about Apple. I found it more interesting that he said people watch more streaming hours of Netflix on Roku than on any other platform. And he said, we're in the TV platform business. Our goal is to be the operating system for the television. And in fact, this fall, they've got their system coming out on two televisions, one manufactured by TCL and the other by Hisense.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, one of the ways that Roku has really won is by appealing to people who don't watch this show. You know, by being the first streaming device that my in-laws picked up. I think they
really say they sell most of them at retail, which kind of backs that up.
Well, and plus also like during the holiday season, they actually buying billboards that said "Happy Streaming Holidays" and talked about how, you know, how simple everything is. And weirdly, keep in mind, one of the smartest things Roku's doing is that they now have apps that play pornography, where it's like you're able to, and it's like you think that doesn't matter, but that's what decided the Betamax versus VHS format war back in the 80s. And people say that that's also what had to do with it was Blu-ray that got picked over HD DVD back in the aughts. Well,
yeah, if you need a Roku to stream porn, you don't know how to use the internet. I'm sorry, but. First of all, can we agree that everything this guy says is Kafka-esque? Just want to put that out there.
Well, I think Peter Kafka makes him say certainly must be, by definition.
Yes. Yeah. I think the smartest thing they're doing is saying they want to be a platform for televisions, because I think the Roku as a hardware device is going to be obsolete very soon, because you're going to be able to stream this stuff on everything. And the idea of them providing software solutions or operating systems or platform services to other pieces of hardware that don't necessarily need to have the little hockey puck attached to them, I think is smart, because they may be selling bundles and bundles of hockey pucks, but I don't think that that's a long-term solution. I think that's a short-term solution for people that don't have the hockey puck hardware already in their devices, which is where it's going.
I don't know, Brian, that makes a lot of sense the way Jeff Kanata says it, but that goes against our sort of mutual agreement that we want the device to be separate from the television.
Here's the difference: is Roku, and this is going to sound like I'm a total hypocrite, probably because I'm a total hypocrite. I think nowadays that the amount of hardware, the amount of horsepower required to give you a decent stream and to give you a decent enough user interface experience, that baseline has gotten so low relative to what hardware could do, that as long as all you're doing is accessing the content and streaming it, then I kind of don't mind if it's built into televisions as much, as long as. But the problem is when I was railing on it was 2-3 years ago when I got my Samsung TV and they were touting smart televisions, and it was a giant pain in the butt. Everything would hang up, it would herky jerk super slow, and I'm not seeing that being such an issue nowadays. So I don't know if that's me doing a reversal or not. But I will say, as long as all it does is stream media, it seems like that is such a low difficulty challenge that I would be okay with it built into televisions.
And if Roku is inserting themselves into that loop, if they're saying we're going to be the solution for these other hardware manufacturers, if we're going to be the platform of choice that you stick into your machine, and we're going to have channels that Roku, cultivates and brings to market, like all that stuff, yeah, do it. But I don't know about you guys, but I have no less than 5 things connected to my television that can stream Netflix, right? I don't need the hockey puck that when I plug a cord into it, doesn't even have enough weight to stand to rest on a shelf on its own. It hovers in the air because there's so little guts inside.
That's a feature,
the thing.
Jeff. Comes with free hovering.
I only want hovering on my boards.
Well, see, but again, here's the flip side. It's on the one hand, I get it. You got this octopus of like dangling crap behind your television, but on the flip side, I mean, we just got off of 3 years of Samsung cramming stupid smart TV, like crappy versions of Kinect where you're holding your hand up to maneuver and stuff.
Gentlemen, let's stop living in the past with Samsung TVs and hockey pucks. Dongles are the future, my friends.
I mean, I kind of think they are. I'm down with that. I ever since I got the Chromecast, I love it. I love the fact that it's just built in and svelte, and then I'm able to access it with my iPhone. And I'm surprised to discover that I use my Chromecast about 50% of the time. You would think, since I'm accessing the same Netflix, that I would always want to use my Xbox or I would always want to use my Chromecast. But instead, I find myself jumping between the two. Do you not? You've got a look about you there, Jeff.
I just want to know which service is going to stream Netflix into my virtual reality goggles. That's all I care about.
I don't know. You got to give me your Facebook account. Yeah.
You guys.
Video. Your Netflix app on Facebook. Boy.
There you go. Make it happen. And pornography. What?
I do think, though, in all seriousness, coming down to the end of this, there will be, I think Brian's right, that hardware inside of televisions is catching up to the point where you don't have to rev it all that often to make it work. But remember, Roku itself, you can only get the YouTube app on a Roku 3. It doesn't work. The DRM doesn't work on the older models. You can't get the current search and interface that you can get on the Roku 2s and 3s on the original Roku. So there may be examples like that in the future. That's why I think the dongle is still the future-proof one. And there's even been some talk about televisions being bundled with the Roku dongle, which has the advantage over the Chromecast if you don't have to use a smartphone or a tablet to control it, but it's still unobtrusive and out of the way, and it can be replaced.
Easily upgradable. I think that last part is the most important one. Ship the television with the $20, $30, $40 dongle, and just know that when something better comes along, you're instantly upgraded, and you don't have to be stuck with, because that's the thing. It's 5 to 7 years is the refresh cycle for televisions, and I don't want to be stuck with something that feels out of date 2 years, and then spend the next 5 years resenting it and not using it.
I'm trying to think. My television, I believe, is 7 years old now.
Yeah. Yep.
7 or 6.
Throw it in the garbage.
It doesn't. I know. Right? It doesn't have an internet connection. Everything I watch on it is coming from some other device.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't even care. I don't even notice it. I don't even care.
Yeah.
What device do you guys use to stream Netflix?
Mostly for me, it's the web interface. It's actually just on Chrome, using the browser in my office. But part of that is because I got kids and I like to watch adult content. I can't do that in the living room without the whole house hearing screams and bloody murder and F words. So it's easier for me to watch my content in the office. What about you?
Lately, it's been Xbox One for me. Because I've been playing with that and using it, and I've got my TV running through it, and so it's just always right there. But normally it's the Roku.
I'm very curious about your experience with Xbox One because I've found its Netflix streaming to be subpar. I have found it to be really frustrating. And I say that as somebody who likes to be platform agnostic and not espouse one or the other, but It bugs me because my Xbox One is on my number one input, and I hate changing inputs. I have this thing about changing inputs. I hate it.
But is it worse than the Xbox 360? Because I've had good experience with the Xbox 360.
I use the PS4, and I find the PS4 over the Xbox One is dramatically different. Dramatically. And I'm not saying that to, stoke fires about the console wars or whatever. I have said from personal experience, the PS4's Netflix streaming is superior in every way. I can maintain a connection. I don't have those wild fluctuations in quality that I get with the Xbox One. I am usually, especially watching something like House of Cards, I'm getting the Ultra HD image, and it's stable, and I can fast forward and rewind and not have hiccups. With the Xbox One, I have all those problems.
Huh. It's funny. I haven't noticed those problems on the Xbox One with Netflix, but I have definitely noticed them with Vudu. Where I just can't make it through a rental on Vudu without it totally losing connection and me having to go back through the menus and restart the video again.
Ugh.
I hope that's something that they address with an update, because I really would prefer to stay on that one input and be able to control things with my voice, et cetera, et cetera. But right now I'm not having an experience that's worthy of doing that.
Well, I tell you who's not going to have an experience worthy of doing is whoever loses the Aereo case. So let's go to our secondary target and talk about that, because that was my transition to it.
That was good. Well done. That was nicely done, sir.
Thank
Subtle.
you. A couple things from last week. Aereo filed its briefing with the Supreme Court last Wednesday. If you remember, the broadcasters filed their briefing about a month ago. You can guess what it says. The broadcasters are asking the court to deny consumers the ability to use the cloud to access a more modern-day television antenna and DVR. That's what Aereo CEO Chet Kanojia wrote. As you may know, the oral arguments in front of the Supreme Court began on April 22nd. Now, if the broadcasters win and Aereo loses, Kanojia told Bloomberg, he's like, if we don't succeed in that, despite our best efforts and good law on our side and the merits of our case, it would be a tragedy, but it is what it is. He didn't talk about a plan of like, well, this is what we would do. On the other hand, CBS's CEO Les Moonves, who's always good for a quote, said this to CNBC on Friday.
Other ways of making up for it. What does that mean?
Putting our shows directly on cable, forming our own Aereo with the other networks, going over the top. Lots of solutions. No fear on my part.
No fear. Les Moonves has no fear.
And to me, I read that. Now, I'm sure he meant it as a strong vote of confidence. No matter what happens, we'll be here for you. I read it as, we pretty much know Aereo is going to win this case. We're already prepared to change the way we do business. I mean,
no fear. We're going to lose the case.
Well, I mean, kind of, a little bit. I mean, am I wrong on this?
Jeff, what do you think?
I can certainly see that reading being valid. I mean, he's certainly saying, it's like preemptively saying, I don't care what the court says. And you only say, I don't care what the court says when they say the thing you don't want them to say. I definitely see that reading.
No, we're going to take a moment and sing a song here out of nowhere.
Well, and it does. If you read it that way, then Chet Kanojia's statement of like, well, I don't know what we'd do if we lost is more like, we're going to win.
Yeah.
we're not even bothering planning for a loss because we're going to win. It would be interesting to see if the broadcasters really followed through. Les Moonves has made these threats several times. We've heard them from a couple other executives from other networks as well, where I think what the plan is to take your over-the-air broadcasting and make it full of public policy and reruns of old television shows that are appealing to an older audience, which the demographic for over-the-air is still very much an older audience than cable television, and then take the current channels and just put them directly on cable so you wouldn't have any difference if you're a cable subscriber.
That's brilliant because it essentially lets them win, lets them have it. And they've already, many of these channels have already divvied up their airwave space into the sort of the real channel, which is the HD stuff, and then on the old analog channel that they are whatever. Like there are two versions of all my broadcast television stations now, and one always seems to have something that I've heard of, and one happens to be old crap at any given time. Is that the case with you guys?
Yeah. Every once in a while, they'll be like, I think on Fox, when they do the baseball game of the week, the second channel will have the other baseball game that's not being shown in your area or something like that. But
that's great. If essentially they dish up intentionally like old crap and your local news, your Wheel of Fortunes or whatever, but all of your premium programming goes to something else. I think that's smart.
It's sort of ghettoizing the over-the-air stuff, right?
It is.
Saying,
But the
oh
FCC
yeah, let
policy
them
just
let
says
them
they
watch
have
their
to
Wheel of Fortune.
fulfill like an educational purpose.
What-
So they're like, well, that's easy.
Well, and actually, I think that's a good way to put it as far as ghettoizing, because they really do. They're already doing that. They already want to do that. They've already gotten a taste of all the retransmission fees that they're paying, or that they're getting paid for everyone who watches it on DirecTV or for cable. And now there's really no profit motive for them to care about who watches over the air. So yeah, it seems like maybe we're seeing the beginning of sunsetting that entire method of distributing content.
Although having them go over the top is really intriguing. Like, what if CBS, ABC, NBC, and Fox got together and instead of pulling their channels off the air, made their own Aereo and said, look, because we actually run the channels, we can do better. We can make things available on demand in our Aereo because
Isn't that
we
what they do
can
with Hulu?
rebroadcast. And we don't have to do a dance with multiple antennas. We can have an unlimited number of subscribers.
Well, and Jeff just asked a good question. Isn't that what they do with Hulu? How
No,
would that
because
be
Hulu
different?
doesn't do the live stream, so to speak. It is what ABC does with their ABC app, though.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You have
Yeah,
to
I think that was
authenticate
what
with
they
a
originally
provider.
was about, was them like coming together and going, we will Voltron unite and do an end around on
but-
Netflix and make our own spot. And it's like, oh no, we all pulled out of that and it's kind of lame.
Well, but Hulu also was sort of built to fail, and it wasn't so much Netflix they were taking on; it was the piracy of YouTube that they were railing against.
True.
They're like, "Look, we'll band together, and this will die, and then we'll be able to say, look, we tried." And instead, Hulu thrives and survives, despite the fact that they have an openly hostile policy and pricing model to the folks who are backing it. So obviously, there's
monster
something
that
to
lived.
it. What was that?
It's the monster that lived.
Yes, exactly. So, all right, if we're placing bets here, Aereo wins or lose.
Jeff?
Well, I'm going to say Aereo wins, and I'm going to say that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Tom?
I'm going to try to give a percentage. I think it's a 63% chance of an Aereo win.
So you would pay 2-1?
Yeah, roughly.
You know what? I'm right with you. If I would be utterly shocked, and if I'll take all takers. I'll pay $2 for every one on the. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm not allowed to bet. How about that? But if I could, I would.
I'm taking the bet right now in the chat room, and it's done.
Yeah, crap.
All right. Well, you know what we should take is a moment to thank our patrons.
Ugh, do we really have time, Tom? I mean, there's a few of them. There's 5, 6.
It should only take about 4 hours.
Well, why? Is that because there's 1,679 patrons who make our show possible?
Yeah, oh, okay, maybe 2-3 hours.
Man, this is one of the greatest, most amazing things I've seen in my entire life. The fact that that this show is almost universally only patron supported, that it's direct value for value payments, really warms my heart. We're going to. You want to say this week, Tom? We'll do another State of the Cord Killers address, and we'll send that out to the
if we can get it
patrons.
together, I'd love to do it. If not this week, definitely no later than next week.
Yeah, and we like being able to share. Part of the reason we haven't done an address is because there's some backroom deals happening that the ink's not dry on, so we can't say anything yet.
Yeah,
but those are the places that we're gonna thank you and reward you first. And what I love about specifically Patreon on Cord Killers is that that hopefully when you watch the show, you're saving a bit of money, because you're learning how to cut the cord and get your content for as cheap as possible, whenever you want, however you want. And so in this case, we're not even taking gifts so much as just getting a kickback from the service that we provide.
Value for value. You get value out of the show, give a little value back. That's all we ask.
Yeah,
Thank you, Adam Curry, for inventing that phrase.
That's right.
Let's do some signals intelligence, because that is the segment that tells you about things you can use to watch things. That could also be gear, but this is about streaming services.
Yeah.
There's a new service that I caught on Recode. We got a lot of Recode stories today. Good job, Recode.net. Pluto.tv is a new service that pulls together lots of clips from YouTube and other web video sites like Vimeo and Dailymotion, arranges them in a TV-like setting. So it presents them in a live channel streaming format, and you see like a grid that says like, here's your headline news section, and here's your sports section, and Pluto says it will eventually offer on-demand and search capabilities, but right now it's just the grid. It's very much like taking that traditional way you used to watch television before DVRs and saying, watch some web video that way. You can use it for free. It's in your web browser, Android and iOS apps. I thought, well, this is kind of dumb until I tried it. And maybe it's my age, but the magical feeling of like clicking headline news and then seeing CNN video show up, even though it wasn't actually live CNN, I was like, ooh, this kind of feels good. And I'm just watching web video.
Now, help me out. When you say it's streaming, does that mean that it's on demand, or does that mean that it's like you tune in and whatever it's showing, that's what it's showing?
Yeah, it's streaming in the sense of we're not downloading a video and watching it. It's streaming it from the internet, but it's on demand. I don't think it's all live. It's just, although maybe some of it is.
Well, and I guess what I'm saying is that it's weird and shocking to me to see that there's actually a value on giving fewer options. For example, when we're not live on diamondclub.tv, which, by the way, check it out because Dan Dirks has done an amazing job on the back end on that. He's built a system where anyone who goes to diamondclub.tv, you go there and there will be some content playing. It might be a YouTube video or a live stream of one of the, the constellation of independent stars that use the channel, but everybody is always watching the same thing at the same time, which really does reinforce this community-like experience. And that everybody is synchronized, I think there's a value to that as well. Now, in many ways, the way we run Diamond Club TV is utterly anathema to our mission at Cord Killers, in that where, you're going to a space that tells you what you're going to watch and where you're going to watch it. But on the other hand, if what you want to do is have kind of this passive feed coming in, it's exactly right. Where do you come down on this, Jeff? Is it important to be able to do just stuff on demand, or is there a value to the live community experience?
Well, certainly, I think you don't have to choose one or the other. I think sometimes you want, sometimes you feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't, right?
Sure.
And I certainly would say that the majority of the content I digest is time shifted. I don't think I watch. There's very little that I watch that is actually being delivered to me live. But when I do want to digest something live, that kind of situation is what I enjoy. It's the, oh my gosh, we're all going to live tweet this, or oh my gosh, I'm hanging out in the chat room and hanging out with people that are all having the same experience I am. So there's certainly time and place for both. And I think this service sounds kind of interesting. I don't know if it's something that would be super useful for me personally, but it's an interesting take.
Have you all gone there? Have you tried it yet?
No, maybe I'll do it now, but it probably seems
Not me.
time.
Okay, because you're saying things that would make perfect sense when I read the story. Once you actually go to Pluto.tv and you're like, oh, look at that. There's a hockey channel. And I click it and I'm actually watching NHL footage. And they're highlights. It's not a live, but it's like, oh, this is really actually cool. Okay, now I'm going to watch this this viral videos thing. And then I'm getting like, I'm tuning in the middle, right? So I'm joining in and watching along with other people. Although there's no chat room or community element to this. Maybe there should be, maybe there's not. That's another side thing. But it's like, oh, okay. And I see that Marble Hornets is coming up on the Sci-Fi Channel at 4:00. I'll watch that. I mean, if you're looking for I don't really want to pick something. I just want this kind of video. This is perfect.
So it does join you mid content
yes.
when you go there. So it's not on demand. It is just a perpetual live.
It's on demand in the sense that these videos are not streaming live. Like we're not watching something happening right now, right? But it's the same as DiamondClub.tv, where like if a video is partway through, when you tune in, you're going to see it partway through.
Got it. So
you guys, you know what you're describing, right?
Is old school television.
It's television, channel surfing.
Yes,
that's what I used to do when I was a kid.
Well, and I'll tell you what, and this is one of the weird things. This is one of those show your age moments. But there was a delightful moment in the mid to early 90s when you had true analog signals, and as fast as you could change channels is how fast you could catch 1/3 of a second of content. And you're like, and you're like, oh, what was that? Go back. And nowadays, ever since we went digital in the mid to late 90s, the entire experience has been click, wait 2 seconds, buffer, show something. Click, wait 2 seconds, buffer, show something. And it's like, I can't wait for the technology and the bandwidth to get us back to a place where essentially all the channels are pre-buffered so you can get that true channel surfing experience again.
And there are times when you just want to put something on, right? You don't want to pick. You don't want to think about what should I choose on Netflix to watch right now. And this fulfills that need. Maybe that's only a need old farts like me have. I don't know. But I feel like, I can go to a sketch comedy channel on Pluto TV and I'm going to get SNL highlights right now. Like, this is not cheap stuff. Then I'm going to get the Builder Burgers, then the best of UCB, then a bit of Fry and Lonely, or Fry and Laurie, then the best of Lonely Island. Like, this is good stuff. And I can just be like, oh, cool. I'm just going to watch some.
I'll
sketch
tell you
comedy.
what, this is grasping at an experience that we all want. But to be honest, I think that what's going to happen is in the next 3 to 4 years, somebody's going to come up with a virtual concierge service that analyzes everything you like, and it's going to have a personality, and it's just going to feed you content, and you're just going to be, it's going to be as if, kind of like the way a bunch of people personify Siri as like they treat as if they're talking to a virtual assistant or a person. It's going to be like that, and they're going to be amazed at how prescient this, what you're like, oh, so-and-so blank gets me and serves me a bunch of content.
Yeah, but I hate to be the guy that has to be like this on this show in particular, but I have to say that the experience you're describing of the mid-'90s, which, by the way, what a wonderful time the 90s were.
It was a magic time.
90s is live,
It was a
man.
magical time. That experience was, I would say 90% of the time I was watching something that I didn't know I would like. And that, I think, is a lost art of the finding it, would never know that I wanted to watch it. It would never even be a thing that you would say the profile of Jeff Kanata would like this. It's just an outlier that happened to catch my eye, and now I'm watching this now, and I'm getting something rich out of it because there's a danger, I think, says the old guy on the show, to feeding people only what they already know they want.
Well,
you know?
but again, there is kind of a science to it. For example, I never would have on purpose started watching Tucker and Dale versus Evil, like from the box art, from the subject matter, from that, whatever. But my guess is that if enough of my friends, you know, and the only reason I saw it is because my friends bullied me into it. We were all playing games and they're like, shut up, I'm putting this on while we play. And I got utterly sucked into it and I absolutely loved it. In that regard, like they can... The meta-analyses are good enough for them to say, okay, well, none of these match your profile, but this guy who you're similar to, this guy you're similar to, and this guy you're similar to, all three of them were surprised at how much they like it. And in many ways, it's like the Netflix 4 stars method, but the difference is instead of just saying we think you'll like it, they're involuntarily saying, shut up, you're going to like this.
Well, it's Pandora, right?
Yeah, correct.
For video. And I think there's a place for that. I think you're absolutely right. There's also a place for curation. And I think Jeff's right too, that sometimes you're going to be like, well, I just want to see some stuff that I don't know about, and I don't know I will like or not, because somebody else has thought about it, and something that even your algorithm won't know you like until you see it, and that's how it'll be marketed.
Yeah, I can see that. Shall we go under surveillance?
Even your
sir?
algorithm doesn't know for sure.
Oh, no, wait. No, we should gear up. That's what we should do.
Yeah, we should gear up.
Let's
we really
gear
should.
up.
This is all about the devices you use to get the content. And as Brian was saying, a lot of people are using the Chromecast these days. It's launched all over the world. Sales have been really good, and more apps are starting to work with Chromecast. They've expanded with Rdio. If you use that for your music, you can now sling that, or I guess you cast it to the Chromecast. Vudu, the Walmart-owned video-on-demand service, which is actually my favorite for renting when it's not on the Xbox One. And Crackle, the Sony-owned video provider, is on there now.
So while we're talking about the Chromecast, I got a question for you. This popped into my head. One of the stories we had last month was about how Chromecast has pretty much opened up the gates and said, all comers, go ahead and hack away. Go nuts, be inventive, or whatever. How far do you think we are from Popcorn Time being a hacked app on the Chromecast, and all of a sudden this apocalypse of a $35 streaming stick and an easy upload of a device, or of an easy app upload, suddenly becomes everyone in Hollywood's worst nightmare?
I don't think the SDK is that open. And so I think it'd be very easy for Google to step in and say, nope, that software doesn't work.
Okay. Yeah, you think it'll be killed before it even goes into work.
That's my sense of it. Is that because the Google SDK it's not an open platform in the sense of like it's open source and anybody can do it. It's open in the sense of like we'll let almost anyone use it. We won't pre-approve, but they can definitely post deny, I think.
That's a good point. Pre-approve versus post-deny. That's a good policy.
But I do like the fact that more and more stuff is getting getting a Chromecast. I didn't realize that Voodoo wasn't working on it because I haven't used it for that. But yeah, good stuff.
Right on. Hey, you want to thank the people who make the hardware of this show possible?
Well, yes, I do. Who does that?
I'll tell you what. It's somebody who believes in us. Somebody who makes 3 badass Armor series PCs for us to run everything on. We got these guys, Doghouse Systems.
The PC that I have sitting over there that I play World of Warcraft on.
Wait, did you get an Armor series?
I got an Armor MX back in the day, y'all.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it because it looks like a freaking Sentry from Portal. But our friends over at Doghouse Systems have been longtime believers in the show. All of the hardware that we're running on is Doghouse hardware. They have a promo code set up. If you use promo code CordKillers at checkout, if you're going to get a desktop PC, they're the people you want to do it from. And they will give you double your memory for freezies. And more importantly, you'll be showing that it was worth it for them to invest in us. They're also working to develop a set-top box designed by you guys. What would the perfect set-top box look like? A media PC, what would it come with? What kind of remote control would you want? What kind of software would you want pre-installed on it? What kind of options? And if you look up Cord Killers Doghouse, I'm sure you'll find the Google Plus community where everyone's discussing that right now. Thanks so much to our friends over at Doghouse Systems.
Let us see what is under surveillance these days.
Yeah.
Besides us.
All about location.
Under surveillance.
There's a new web series being created by Machinima on YouTube called Gable 5. Stars James Morrison as a neuroscientist. He's trying to create a cure for war. That sounds awesome. He must be a really good guy. He's not. Eliza Dushku plays a test subject, and Kevin Tancharoen, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your last name right, Kevin, apologies. He was behind the web series for Mortal Kombat Legacy, co-wrote and directed the pilot. I watched it, and it felt like I was watching primetime Fox level production. Maybe that's just because I remember Eliza Dushku from Buffy and Dollhouse, but I liked it. I'm intrigued. It's a little bit cartoony, but I want to see where it goes.
Yeah, you know, it was funny for me was that I started watching it and just sort of was doing other stuff at the same time, figuring that like I don't know, it didn't really suck me in all at once. It seemed like a bit over the top. Eliza Dushku, I've seen, you know, she's a very talented actress, but I didn't feel like that got through in this as much as I wanted it to. But 5 minutes into it, Bonnie is like walking past the door and immediately just sees a chick kicking ass and stops, walks back in, like, what are you watching? What is this? And, you know, Bonnie, of course, loved and watched all of Dollhouse. And so maybe they are onto something. Maybe I'm just not the target demographic on this one, but it's sort of a mind bender. Little bit heavy-handed on the, like, we're bad guys who are like really bad and don't mind saying out loud how bad we are. But but you got to start somewhere. So again, I hope it works out really well for him. Have you caught this at all, Jeff?
No, I haven't. So seeing it here, it was the first time I had heard of it. But I dug that fan made thing on Machinima this week from doing the Deus Ex fan movie. So maybe Machinima's turning it around, doing some interesting, fun stuff.
You know,
Well, I
is
like what Machinima's doing here, where they're saying if this pilot gets enough interest and feedback, we'll make the series. They're sort of doing a pilot the way Amazon says they do it, except they're really doing it. They're like, here it is, putting it out there, we're watching.
Yeah, and they do watch. You know, I've talked to Machinima a couple of times, and there was that brief while where they got the Battlestar Galactica Blood and Chrome, and it sort of fell into their laps, and they're like, well, maybe we could go to an older demographic. But then it seemed like they kind of pulled back, and they're like, no, what we really want to do is we want to focus on, you know, like the Halo real action series that they did was brilliant because in many ways what they were doing is borrowing from the old Saturday morning cartoons model, where essentially their content was being made for free by Microsoft. It happened to be high quality content, but really at the end of the day, it was meant to sell action figures, or in this case, you know, copies of Halo. So I don't know. I like that they're so experimental. I like watching what Machinima does.
I incorrectly called it Gable 5. It's the Gable 5.
Oh.
And we'll have a link in the show notes at cordkillers.com as well.
I love the idea. I'm still stuck on this from earlier in the show. I have to apologize. I'm still stuck on this idea of what my algorithm is going to like. And I think that I'm going to start using that from now on. If someone doesn't like something, I'll be like, your algorithm Loved it. I don't
Dude, you gotta trust your algorithm.
You're gonna tell them they're wrong.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
like,
sorry.
well,
I
apparently
really
you
thought
had
you were
some
gonna like that.
situational disturbances. Maybe that phone call from your girlfriend really set you off track. But I'm sorry, the script says you were supposed to love this.
Your
So you
algorithm
love it.
Really digs it.
The real
Your
you loves
algorithm
it.
knows for sure.
Hey man, you want to take things over to the front lines?
Let's do it. Do you know how this works, Mr. Kanata?
Maybe not.
So we've got 6 stories. We give each story 60 seconds. One of us
right.
will set up the topic, and then we have 60 seconds to express our opinions about it. If you're really into a story, each one of us can use a 60-second extension. One time.
Now I remember.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with the first story. Time Warner Cable customers looking to lower their bills would be able to hire professional negotiators from Yipit, a New York-based daily deals startup. Basically, you schedule an appointment, somebody calls on your behalf, and they do basically what we've promoted for a year now, the Chicken Challenge, where they say, yeah, look, I'm not happy. I want to cut my cord. I want to watch everything on Netflix and Hulu. And then they see how low they could get Time Warner to come back. I think this is brilliant. I think this is great. I think that this is the perfect thing if you're not the kind of person who likes to be confrontational. That'll do it. Time Warner Cable says they're unimpressed, basically.
Jeff, can I hire your algorithm to be my negotiator?
I was going to say, can I use my cousin Vito? Because I think he would be great at it. Listen, Time Warner, I got an offer for you. There's a couple of things I want to tell you about, and one of them is Jeff's cable, and the other one is your legs being broken. You know,
They may or may not be
That was
related.
right.
Amazon actually legitimately and without rumor has invited the press to an event this Wednesday, April 2nd at 11 a.m. Eastern, which they say is going to be, quote, for an update on our video business. Our long national nightmare is over. Jeff Kanata, are you excited about a forthcoming Amazon video box?
Yes, deliver it to me using drones. I want it. Make sure it has a controller and plays video games so I have another thing attached to my television that does all the same stuff. That's what I want.
Well, I don't know. Now, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Is there anything they could announce built into this thing that'll make you instantly go like, oh, heck yeah?
I think it's going to be a video game box. I do. I think that leaked picture of the controller from a while back is
It's going to
a
be
clue.
both, you're right.
And I think it's going to do all the same stuff that all the boxes do. I think it's going to be cheap. It's going to be the Kindle Fire of video game consoles.
I think it's going to
Wow.
be the Netflix of video game consoles.
Oh, wow. So
Oh,
you
it's
think
gonna
it's a
stream,
service
yeah.
where it's like anything you want?
But cheap. It's going to be super cheap.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Amazon, 2 weeks ago, we mentioned that they greenlit the After, Transparent, Bosch and Mozart in the Jungle. Amazon reminded us of that today, but also renewed Alpha House for a second season and greenlit 2 kids shows, Wishin' Proof and Gordimer, Gibbons, Life on Normal Street.
So they
That's,
didn't do the Maker show. They didn't greenlight that one. So sad.
What was the Maker show that you were excited about?
It was a kids making a maker show for kids, and I don't remember the name of it now off the top of my head.
I'm surprised that Alpha House. I don't know. Like, is Alpha House like a home run, like a House of Card things, where they
It was their most popular one of the last round, anyway.
Huh. It seemed like even then, like I didn't notice too many people saying like, guys, have you seen Alpha House?
Jeff, did you watch betas?
No, I didn't watch any of those, to be honest with you. I have a friend who writes for one of them that I won't say, and he even dislikes it. So that's sad. I probably shouldn't have outed my friend like that, but it's true. Yeah, this is not something I'm excited that there's more places making television and wanting to make great television, and I hope these are all great.
Recode reported Marissa Myers trying to lure big-name YouTube stars to Yahoo by offering large guaranteed ad rates or bigger revenue than YouTube gives. YouTube keeps 45% of revenue from YouTube creators. The Yahoo video service would not initially be open to everyone. Yahoo previously tried to buy Dailymotion, if you remember. Reuters reported today that Yahoo is in preliminary talks to acquire an online video service called News Distribution Network for $300 million. They syndicate videos to newspapers and other online publishers. So Yahoo angling in on the YouTube business, Jeff. But I'm going to use an extension here. What do you think of that?
I think that could be interesting. I mean, YouTube doesn't really have competition, does it? I mean, I guess Vimeo is competition, but it's not really.
Vimeo,
It's
Dailymotion, Twitch, maybe. I don't know.
Twitch, maybe. I don't know.
Let's take an extension on this, by the way. Let's give this another minute because I think this is a really interesting question. Like tactically, What if you were to announce that you're going to take on YouTube today? I would laugh in your face. But if there's a way to make this work, I think that if this rumor is correct, that Yahoo's going to do it. You pinch the top quality talent, you take those established audiences, you drag them, possibly kicking and streaming over to another platform. I said kicking and streaming. I like that.
Your
Kicking
Freudian
and streaming
slip is
over
showing.
to another platform. And if it's a decent platform, they stick around. And it's a big gamble because you don't know if they're just going to get annoyed and blow it off. But if they're willing to offer guaranteed rates to all of the talent, it could work. It would be a big gamble.
I think that YouTube could be viewed as the MySpace of, in the MySpace Facebook comparison. I think it could be the established, it's impossible to take it down kind of old dog. And if there's a new scrappy dog in there, I don't know if Yahoo is the place to have a new
Yahoo's
scrappy
bringing
dog.
sexy back, is what you're trying to say.
That's it.
Right. It could happen. You never know.
All right, let's talk about the fact that there we go. A new study by Deloitte shows 56% of 14 to 24-year-olds watch shows on computers, smartphones, tablets, and gaming devices rather than on a television, as opposed to only 47% of 25 to 30-year-olds. Only 8% of 67 and over watch on TV. I'll tell you what, this is not news if you are the father of 3 little girls. And as that guy, I'm going to tell you this is not news to me, because the kids almost get annoyed. They're like, I don't want to have to get up and turn on the Xbox just to watch the same. I'm just going to watch it on the doo-doo. Like, they don't care. Big screen, little screen, it's all the same to them.
We're old.
Yeah.
That's what this made me realize.
Yeah, I was going to mock this and say that the wording looks strange because it says they would rather than a television. I would say that same percentage are also watching television, but maybe your anecdotal evidence trumps this.
Well, like again, it's like you talked about how everything does
Using an
Netflix.
extension.
The question is, which one do you want to do? Do you want to watch Netflix on your little thing or your big thing? And so they're all like, whatever, I'll just watch it on the little thing.
All right, Disney agreed to buy Maker Studios, one of YouTube's largest networks, for $500 million. The single most subscribed person on YouTube, PewDiePie, is part of that network. Disney Executive Vice President for Corporate Strategy, Kevin Mayer, said, "This gives us a presence online to reach the millennial group that is increasingly getting its video online, just like that Deloitte study." He didn't say the part about the Deloitte study.
Man, is it really... Is this the end of tech Web 2.0 bubble, where this is the sell-off, where everyone's just looking for their payday?
Oh, I was looking at this more as like, oh, this is the death of television. This is the death of cable. Is Disney going and buying this and just growing up with it? And 20 years later, when these people are older, this is how they get television, and cable is for like ancient people in the nursing home.
Yeah, I could see that. And well, and especially plus also, I would be curious to see what exactly they're getting with the deal in terms of exclusive arrangements with various personalities. You know, like from what I've heard, Maker has rather onerous terms for it, and I'd be curious how much talent is locked into that agreement. Because one thing that we've learned over and over and over again is people will follow talent, which again is part of the smart move with Yahoo if they really are going to try to buy their way into the top.
It's a terrifying, well, maybe not terrifying, but a shocking proposition to have Disney going, we got to figure out a way to talk to kids. Disney's worried about that? Wow.
We need to talk to kids. Buy PewDiePie.
Yeah.
And
you
that
think
was
people
their
are going to be watching
solution,
PewDiePie
right?
in 20 years?
When you go to Disney in 20 years, PewDiePie is going to be like a big character walking around, taking pictures with kids.
He's going to go completely virtual. It's like the singularity. He'll be a computer animated PewDiePie.
Totally. All right, time to look in on the Diamond Club movie draft from Night Attack, starring us.
OMG, Tom, could you believe that movie draft that we did on Night Attack 1 week ago, tomorrow night? It was as harrowing and as frustrating and as agonizing an experience as we've ever had. And at the end, strangely, we felt like everybody was fairly balanced.
Yeah, it started with initial premise, and then there was some early conflict that looked like it was going to be resolved. but then a larger conflict was revealed, and we all attacked that. And then it looked like we were going to fail, but in the end, we prevailed, and we all ended up with movies.
At the end of the second act, though, I was kind of left out of the call. All right, fair. I quit the meta-analysis. We picked 30 of the best movies coming up over the entire summer season, and this year we tried doing teams. If you're unfamiliar with the movie draft, it's basically fantasy football, but with movie box office grosses. So in this case, we set up, normally we'd have one player per team. This time we did teams of two. We had Team Night Attack, Team DTNS, Team The Morning Stream, Team God's Money Bags, which was Will Harris and Father Robert Balasar, Team Slash Film, and Team Amtrekker. Let's see. Do you want to go through who got what, or is that too tedious here?
Yeah, I think it's a lot to go through, but we do have the first of the movies starting this week, and that is mine, so I'll go through that. Captain America, the Winter Soldier. There was a little bit of controversy over the way the draft bot was working in the IRC when I got this, but I still paid $43 for it. So
which
cheap.
Again, if it was going to go higher than that, there's no way it would have gone much higher than that. If you ask me, looking at this, I would say that it's a safe bet. This is a $250 movie or $250 million movie, but I would be shocked if it went above 380, 390, and you paying 43 probably was a solid pay.
I call shenanigans.
Why is that?
In what universe is a movie coming out on April whatever a summer movie?
Well, that's the thing, is you got to pick an opening at some point, and
Memorial Day. Memorial Day is the beginning of summer.
No,
universally accepted.
But then there's no way there's 30
Actually,
movies
summer
that are
begins
worth
on
watching
June
during that
21st near
time.
the solstice.
And to be honest, the first year we did it, I believe it went back all the way into like March or something when we did Clash of the Titans.
There was a year we did March. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Shenanigans.
okay with it. No.
I believe in an endless summer, Jeff, so I'm fine with this.
The problem is you want a
you do
certain
live in
number of
Los Angeles.
tentpole releases. You want some big releases in there, and this is certainly going to be big. Here's my question to you, Jeff. Winter Soldier, does it have a chance? One of the things that Iron Man 3 really benefited from was the hype after the Avengers. In many ways, Iron Man 3 was it felt like the Avengers 2, and I think that was a big part of why it did its record-breaking release. Do you think we're going to get the same thing from Captain America? If anything, this is a movie about the leader of the Avengers, and you got plenty of neck fury, and I
got a little neck fury.
And was it the Black Widow? Is that whatever? Whoever. But the point is this one feels much closer to an Avengers franchise than the Iron Man one did. Do you think it'll do as well as Iron Man 3?
Well, can I tell you? I'm seeing it tonight. Can I tell you in a few hours what I think it'll do?
No, speak your gut now.
It's going to do very, very well. Yeah, from all accounts, it's tracking real well. It's a big franchise. The Avengers are huge. I don't know what a movie that comes out in April does. I don't think it does summer numbers, but I think it'll have long legs and it'll do well.
Well, and I think we can, without going through all the movies and who has them, I think we can talk about the tentpoles. And in reverse order, in August, Guardians of the Galaxy went to Slash Film for $16.
I'll tell you what, this was a weird game in that a lot of money got spent early on, and so what was left at the end, like basically Jermaine held on, and he knew that with that $16 was more money than anyone else had, so he knew he was able to jump on Guardians of the Galaxy. However, on the flip side, that is at the end of the summer, which means you only get 30 days after that to make all your money, and plus there's a little bit of hero fatigue by the time we get to that point.
That's a bad buy, in my opinion.
You don't think he should have bought Guardians of the Galaxy?
I think that's a movie that it could be a flop. I hope it's not. I think it's going to be great. But also, having done stuff like this for many years with TRS and stuff, it's early in the summer. Look at historically what makes the most money early in the summer.
So buy the hype.
Let me do something here. Let me run through all the big movies and how much were paid, Jeff, and then you tell me what you think the best buy sounds like to you.
Okay.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, $21. Transformers: Age of Extinction, $45. How to Train Your Dragon 2, $40. A Million Ways to Die in the West, $30. X-Men Days of Future Past, $26. Godzilla, $35. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, $44. Rio 2, $25.
I think the best buy there is How to Train Your Dragon.
Wait,
I think
at
that movie's gonna
$40?
crush.
At 40,
Well-
it's not gonna do twice as well as Rio 2. And keep in mind, I loved How to Train Your Dragon, but I think that the sequel hype got a little too much on that one, personally.
Perhaps. I mean, I think Rio is going to do well. Any kids movie is going to do well. I mean, I think we saw from the winter that Frozen, it was like, whoa, what's this Disney movie? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, Frozen's the highest grossing animated film of all time.
Yeah.
Good news for God's money bags. That's all I'm
Yeah. I don't know. I think all of those movies are going to do well. I don't hear a flop in the bunch, but yeah, $40 is a lot of your $100.
Do you think that after the third Transformers movie being such a stinker, and again, it was a team effort, so we paid more for Transformers than I wanted to, but but the question is, like, do you think that this has a chance of actually being good by dropping Shia LaBeouf and moving to Mark Wahlberg?
No.
Does it have a chance to make money?
Fool me once, blame on
Right.
you. Fool me 3 times, blame on me. Fool me a 4th time, I'm not going to go to the movie. I wish I had the courage to actually not see this movie. But doing what I do for a living, I sort of have
But
to see it.
you know you're going to go see it. Yeah.
I'm going to go see it. Honestly, I don't think there's been a one of the Transformers movies that's not been, for me, completely terrible.
The first one was all right.
No, everyone says that. I don't know where this revisionist first one was all right thing. Only in the shade of the second 2 do you say the first one was all right. It's like, yeah, this rotten tomato is not awful, but it's only because this rotten milk was so gross when I drank it. It's like weird.
Washes it right down. Yeah.
Man,
I don't know why I said tomato. I think I Freudian slipped that one on.
Say-
Rotten Tomatoes, a movie reference. So,
There you go.
yeah.
Say what you will. I hope it makes $1 billion freaking dollars. I hope it's the highest grossing movie of all time. Robot dinosaurs, Jeff. Mark Wahlberg, Jeff.
Okay, I know the game is all about dollars, but which of those movies do you think is actually going to be good? Because I'm looking at a summer that is going to be, I think, one of the poorest quality summers in recent memory, and that's saying something.
Okay, going by the big ones, Captain America, I suspect will be better than I expect. Rio 2, I don't care. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think is going to suck just like the first Amazing Spider-Man did. I think it was a terrible reboot. I think Godzilla's going to be a massive stinker. I think Days of Future Past X-Men is going to be good, but underperform. A Million Ways to Die in the West, I have no idea. That's just rolled some dice. How to Train Your Dragon 2, I'm certain will be the best movie. It'll probably be my
Agreed.
favorite of the entire summer. And there is a chance with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, because Rise of the Planet of the Apes was the biggest quality surprise of the entire summer. And one wild card I'm going to throw out there, what's the name of it? The freaking Tom Cruise thing, Edge of Tomorrow, I think really has the chance to be a Matrix Inception level surprise.
Yeah, that's pretty fair analysis. Yeah, I hope everybody. I've heard that we should all not watch the trailer for How to Train Your Dragon 2. That it has a big spoiler in it.
Oh, really?
So that's what I hear. I have a friend at DreamWorks, but
You know what? I think I watched it, and I think I did. I think it is a big. It might be presented as a spoiler. It wasn't presented as a spoiler there. Just, but as trailers tend to do, they tend to pretty much ruin the first act of any movie.
not
or
saying-
the second act or the third act. You know, it's. I hate trailers.
And occasionally
I
sequels,
loathe them.
like without, yeah, it's weird. I don't think they're going to necessarily make the most money, but I think if folks are really looking for good movies, a couple of good bets might be Tammy and Sex Tape, because those are the other 2 movies I have.
This is insider trading. You have to disclose that that it's happening.
Well done. Well played.
All right, let's see what's on screen for us on our own screens, whatever screens they may be. Not on our radar. That's what we do when we don't have the movie draft.
Yeah.
On screen.
Now it's on screen.
So we're showing you, audience, on our radar, not going to be done anymore. So
Yeah.
that was your last chance. I got into Rick and Morty. Did you get into Rick and Morty, Brian?
I watched all of Rick and Morty.
did too.
I watched all of them on AdultSwim.com, which
Me
meant
too.
I got to watch the exact same ad 38 times in a row.
Which one? Did you get
There's
the
2.
Watch
There's only
Dogs?
2. All I know is I don't ever want to smoke, Tom. That's.
Oh, I didn't get that one. That's interesting.
Are you kidding me?
I got Watch Dogs with the little sharing song. Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
And then I got the like candy, and I don't remember, it's a great ad.
No, I got one. It was 2 anti-smoking ads, and I'm not kidding you, man. I watched each of these. Let's see, 6 episodes, 3 per episode, 18 times. I watched these ads. There was only 2. There's a cigarette that bullies a kid, and then another one where a kid like peels off half her face, and they're all like,
"Oh, I did
smoke,
get that one a couple of times.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be enough, honey."
Oh, anyway,
your face.
It was really a weird experience. I finished the first episode, and I watched the pilot first, even though it looks like they didn't air the pilot first. I watched the pilot first, and it felt so heavy-handed and gratuitous and gross for the sake of being gross. Like I was watching Spike and Mike's Festival of Twisted Animation or whatever. But something happens. I think to some degree, kind of the same thing happened when I first started watching Archer, where it's like you watch the first episode of Archer and there's sexual content that's shocking for the sake of being shocking, and it turned Bonnie off immediately. And there's no way Bonnie would ever watch Rick and Morty. She would last 5 minutes into it. But by the end of the second episode, I sort of spoke their language, and once they got in the groove, I kind of loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I actually researched the airing order. Not researched, I hovered and looked. I'm like, okay, which one of these aired first? Not the pilot. The pilot didn't air first. I'm like, well, I'm going to watch them in the order they aired. And when I got to the pilot, which I can't remember if it was the second or third one I watched.
It was the second one.
I was like, ooh, this seems like a step back. Like, I can see that this is the pilot. But I was already hooked from the first one I watched. And I absolutely love the sort of like Doc Brown nature and the fact that it's a grandpa and his grandson, but they never call each other grandpa and grandson.
Right.
And just the kind of the wild, like we're going to wink at some stuff, but then we're going to take it seriously for a while. And then we're going to make jokes back. And
especially at the end, as they turn and they like deconstruct, when they do the Anatomy Park thing. By the way, we should be saving all this for spoiler.
Yeah.
Let's
save a little bit. Jeff, I'm getting the sense you haven't watched Rick and Morty, and I feel bad.
I feel very late to the party on this one. We
just found out about it last week ourselves.
Okay, well, good. I don't want to miss out.
It's done by there's 2 guys. One of them is Dan Harmon, creator of Community, the guy who wrote Heat, Vision, and Jack, a bunch of other stuff. And of course, I'm crazy for the Harmontown podcast. And it's amazing to hear how much of his writing you clearly recognize.
I will be watching this immediately, if not sooner.
Yeah,
Brian and I both watched Archer and Cosmos. Brian, do you have anything else to say that we won't have in spoiler zone?
I'll save everything else for spoiler time.
Yeah. I did watch the season finale of Walking Dead. I think it was a good Walking Dead season, but I don't think it ever met the level that Brian wants to recommend bringing him back to it.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
I'll continue to stay on the sidelines.
I rented Frozen over the weekend and watched it, and
Did
like
you
everybody else was like,
snowman?
"Oh yeah, I hear this is really good," and then was like, "Wow, that was really good."
Man, I don't know what disease I have that apparently the contact lenses I have work like the goggles in They Live, because I saw a very different movie than everyone else, and I'm in the minority. I understand that I am not a teenage girl who thinks the whole world's out to get her. But
right,
as a
because the majority of people
man,
are teenage girls who think the world. What are you trying to say?
What I'm saying is the movie had no freaking conflict. It had no bad guy. It was all misunderstanding. It was worse than a Three's Company episode, because at least a Three's Company episode, you know that there's some truth waiting to be resolved. This is like some girl has a hissy fit, runs off and cries.
Wow.
Some guy has a weird, bizarre plan that makes no sense, that flips like a switch. Oh, I hated it.
I have one bit of advice for you, Brian.
Yes.
Let it go.
I know.
Let it go.
The only thing that I've heard that's made me want to like and respect it is Dan Trachtenberg said that the movie is obviously a allegory for being a closeted homosexual. And if that's the case, I can see that and I believe that. And I think that's a great, all of a sudden I would love the movie. But even then, if that's their job, if that's what they're going for, then their job is to make me understand the choking claustrophobic nature of what it's like to be that person. They didn't do that at all.
Living in a room your entire life and not being
no,
able
but
to
that's
leave
just
that
it. It was
room.
stupid that she was in the room. She had a badass superpower. She's friggin' Iceman and crying about, going, quit your crying. You got ice powers. I spent my whole childhood wishing for this, and this is supposed to be something bad?
I agree. Hans Christian Andersen is a crappy writer. and his tales are just predictable, and the entire nation of Denmark should be ashamed.
I said good day.
I say good day, sir.
Don't go see Noah. That's my recommendation.
I mean, it's a fairy tale, so I know it's going to be predictable, and I felt that it was predictable, but I still enjoyed it anyway. So there. I don't know.
By the way, before the letters come, I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong. I'm stupid. I'm lame.
Yes, don't send the letter trying to convince Brian why he's wrong, because that's not gonna change anything. He didn't like it. He's not wrong for not liking it.
Yeah, crazy. Don't send him letters. Use Twitter for that.
Yeah,
seriously.
Great.
That's what it's for. What do you think Evan Biz created it for? What have you been watching, Jeff?
I'm still having the fiance and I are working our way through season 2 of House of Cards. We haven't gotten very far because we are busy people who have 1,000 shows to watch. But we did just watch episode 4, which is the episode where there is an interview with Mrs. House of Cards. What's her name? I can't remember.
Buttercup. I think.
Yes,
Buttercup
Princess
Cards.
Buttercup, and it's truly a phenomenal episode of television. It is staggeringly good,
Claire
and she is incredible. It is such subtle, beautiful acting, and man, that episode blew me away. We also actually, despite its, well, I keep on the verge of just going, I don't want to watch this anymore, but it keeps hooking us a little bit, and that is Blacklist.
I don't know anything about Blacklist.
I've seen the ads for it. That's all I know.
Well, you only need to know one thing, and that's James Spader is in it. If you're a fan of James Spader, as I am, there's plenty of Spader stuff happening, and he's Spader-tastic in it. And it's him just chewing scenery and being awesome. He plays like the baddest evil guy, the most wanted guy in the world, and he shows up on the FBI's doorstep one day, not FBI, but the like NSA or whatever. He shows up on their doorstep one day and goes, "Hey, do you want to catch all the bad guys in the world? Then work with me." And meanwhile, he's like manipulating them and using them for his own purposes. It is sadly refuses to abandon its Monster of the Week thing where they catch a new bad guy every week. But it gives you enough little breadcrumbs of a continuing storyline that we keep with it, because that's all we care about. We watch 45 minutes of crap we don't care about for the 15 minutes of the story that's actually juicy and interesting, and we wish they would just pursue that more, but it's still fun. And I'm also catching up on, we recently started watching Parenthood, which is a show that is wonderful and great. Especially watch it with someone you love, because it's all about those things in life that make us all human and special. And it's great watching that with my fiance. And we're only halfway through season 2, but we have a lot of great episodes to catch up on. It's all on Netflix, and we're digging that too.
Right on.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to dispatches from the front, sir?
Finish it up. Yeah. Dispatch them out, killers. I like that the dispatches from the front has the most elegant graphics and sound of all of our bumpers, because they're letters. These are people of letters. For instance, Jim Corbett took his pen to paper via email and said, "Hey, I'm glad you two have continued the show, and I'm a proud patron of it. I've cut the cord, mostly thanks to you guys. I'm using a Roku box, and notice Vudu and Target Ticket. Is there a point or a need for Vudu or Target Ticket, or any differences? What's good to use? I have a Prime account from Amazon and Netflix, and my wife talked me into Hulu Plus. Do I need Vudu or Target Ticket?"
Well, I figured you'd be the one to talk about it, since you were just saying that Vudu's your go-to. It's your favorite place.
I like to buy things on Vudu because I can watch them in multiple places, right? They have the ultraviolet thing. You can buy things on Target Ticket and watch them on Vudu, but Target Ticket itself is, to me, not necessary on its own. Vudu sometimes has things that the other services don't have, and I like that locker ability. I can watch it on an Android tablet. I can watch it on an iOS tablet. I can get it in the most places of the services. That said, if you've got the Prime account, Netflix and Hulu Plus, you don't need Vudu. You might as well sign up for it because it's free to sign up for it. And then I would use it if you're in a situation where you're like, oh, it's only available on Vudu. That's the main compelling point for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. So Walter Woods writes us with an incredibly unrealistic hypothetical question for us. He asks us, how much would you pay for a service like Popcorn Time that was legal? Every movie and TV show ever streamed to any device you want with no region restrictions at a monthly rate. What would you shell out for that? And he says, love the show.
Oh, that's nice, Walter. That is a great question. Like, let's say that tomorrow the MPAA and the television people all just go, you know what? You guys are right. You've been railing against us forever. We're going to make DRM-free versions of movies and TV shows available through this new service. We've bought Popcorn Time, and now all you have to do is pay this fee.
So this is movies that are also currently in theaters. We're including those movies in there,
Well,
or just
Popcorn
anything from the past.
Well, Popcorn Time does that in some cases, like around Oscar time, they could get their hands. You know, piracy is often flooded with Oscar screeners or whatever. But by and large, if it's in the movie theater in the pirate world, it's usually a terrible, someone's holding up a camera in the movie theater type thing. So let's just say, pretty much anything that's on DVD release and up available at all times.
Because I'm not, I would say that isn't so much greater than what we have now that I'm willing to pay a substantially larger amount than what I pay now. Like, I like my $7.99 Netflix subscription. Yes, it doesn't have everything that's ever been created, but it has enough. And I'm not going to go and say, well, I'll pay $40 a month or $150 a month to I don't know. I mean, I do pay a lot for cable, so I guess it would replace cable.
Yeah, totally.
I'd pay $50 a month easy for this.
I'll flat out say I'll go to $150. I was paying $110, $120 per month for cable with HBO and all that crap. And their crummy on-demand service and their miserable DVR and their terrible interface and their windowed showings of everything, to give up all of that for a premium of only $20 or $30 on top of cable to essentially get everything full stop, $150 a month easy and be legit. Yeah, I'd be down.
The big advantage to me is not having to think like, oh, is this one on Netflix? Oh, is this one, where can I catch up? Oh, I heard about Helix. I want to watch it, but I didn't set a DVR. So what's the best way to go find it? And just being able to go, this thing has it, no matter what I want.
Yeah, but it doesn't replace cable for me. Like, I don't buy cable so that I can have everything that's ever been on television. I buy cable because I get the stuff that's happening now, and I can watch sports, and I can watch the news, and I can watch stuff that I would never go to
Jeff,
a streaming service.
You can get
for.
the current shows that you watch now, like Blacklist, on this new service, and then you can go to Pluto TV for everything else.
Oh, there you go. Well, done and done.
See, and I think you nailed it because
you did.
cable being synonymous with sports, that's something we've talked about before, is how so much of our cable subscriptions goes to subsidize sports. If you don't care about sports like me, then there's just no benefit to cable over this. I mean, I certainly don't get my news from the nightly or local news or whatever. It's like I read all my news. And
yeah, same here. But that is the thing, is if you want to watch a news television channel, or you want to watch live sports not blacked out in your market, but your local teams, then you kind of are stuck with cable. And this proposition that Walter has made doesn't cover that aspect of it. I think that's why I thought 50 rather than 150, because it's not actually getting me all of it.
It's getting me everything I wanted out of cable and then some. If it gets me, freaking Game of Thrones and so on, then I'm happy. Sorry, Jeff, I cut you off.
No, that's fine. I'm just thinking of all these applications of cable that I use. I'm never gonna stream HGTV. I'm never gonna go searching for what that episode of HGTV that I missed. But I have it on in my house a hell of a lot. If there's a marathon of house.
You know what?
Hunters
That's
online,
a really
I'll watch that.
Bonnie hates that I call it this. She refuses to let me do it. But it's like there's a place for diarrhea television, just constantly flowing, and you're like, oh, this is okay to watch. At least it's on. And I think there's a value for that if you just like the noise. And HGTV is perfect in that regard. Like, look at this messy room. Now look how clean it is. You're like, oh, that's pleasing. Same thing, like watching golf and watching bowling are the same thing. They're like, oh, I wonder if it's a 5-second mystery. Like, will the ball go in the hole? It did. Will the ball knock down the pins? It did. And there's something, I have no idea who the characters are or what it is, but there's something pleasing about that.
Yeah, that House Hunters Marathon is something we're guilty of. Just like, put it on. You can get the same experience from Amazon Prime by just like rolling it, saying like, all right, just play House Hunters off the streaming. But it's not quite the same because it won't flip over to Property Brothers every once in a while and go, oh, okay, let's watch that.
I love those guys.
Plus, you also have to like admit out loud, like there's this moment where you're like, I like this show. There's so many shows on cable television that you could publicly say you hate and then like quietly just leave on.
Dude, that is a huge thing. And it's not so much the admitting that I like it. It is almost the psychological moment of going, I am selecting this thing to bring into I'm inviting this thing into my house rather than this thing is on and I just happen to be tuned to it. You know what I mean? There's a psychological barrier for me to. I will never set up a DVR recording for certain shows, but if they are on, I'll watch the hell out of them.
You know what it is? It's a matter of self-identification. Like you're not going to make a move that says I identify as the kind of person who loves Duck Dynasty. I won't do it or whatever. You know?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I've never watched that show.
I have also never watched that
it's
show.
lead into Don't Trust Andrew
Oh,
Main.
God, you're right. I have watched it.
Ah, sir.
I repressed the memory. Oh, well. On that revelation, let's thank Jeff Cannata for being on the show. Jeff, you are a gentleman, a scholar. We love you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Anytime, fellas. I'm a huge fan of what you do, of you personally, of everything your universe is. And I'm happy to be a part of it in my small way.
So do you got anything to promote? Anything people should check you out at?
Well, we just had a new episode of DLC today, and every Monday it comes out, 5by5.tv/DLC. That's my audio show all about video games and tabletop games. I'm also doing NLB Minis. I'm just me by myself reviewing stuff. Started last couple weeks ago and doing 3 a week, so you can catch my mini reviews on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/KannataJeff. You can find out all my stuff on my website, jeffcannata.com. That's with 2 N's and 1 T. Or follow me on Twitter at jeffcannata with 2 N's and 1 T.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You can find us at cordkillers.com, and you can email us. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We are live on diamondclub.tv every Monday evening at about 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We will see you when we peek in your window creepily, and you will see us in your own way, whatever way you want to watch us on your podcast. Goodbye.
Patreon.com/cordkillers.